What you want, when you want it, where you want it. This is The Mesh.
Wandering through the ponds of Alabama between Birmingham and Talladega, you'll find a town at the corner of three counties. It's a place that's home to Barber Vintage Motorsports Museum, NBA legend Charles Barkley, and Rusty's Barbecue. Now, Rusty's been featured at the Charleston Wine and Food Festival, and his culinary ties to South Carolina run long and deep. But his barbecue sandwich has been named the best in Alabama, and his spot in Leeds has become one of my favorites. So today, we're excited to welcome Rusty Tucker to the Low and Slow Barbecue Show. Rusty, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, looking forward to finding out a little bit more about you and your business and what all you got on the horizon there in the outskirts of Birmingham. But first, a quick reminder to all those folks looking for scoops about barbecue around the Carolinas and beyond. Please visit us online at lowslowbbqshow.com. That's where you can sign up for our newsletter, The Lowdown. It delivers the latest Carolina barbecue news directly to your email inbox on Tuesday mornings. And, of course, our website's also where you can find our barbecue blogs and podcast episodes. We've got pitmaster interviews and barbecue reviews. And, in fact, a couple of those reviews share a little bit of love with today's guest and his restaurant, Rusty's Barbecue. So, Rusty, let's just start at the beginning. What is Rusty's Barbecue, and what can somebody expect when they come for a visit?
Yeah, Rusty's Barbecue is just a mom-and-pop barbecue place in Leeds, Alabama. Fabulous Leeds, Alabama, about 10 miles east of Birmingham. Where I grew up. I grew up in Birmingham, but I've made my way here to Leeds as an adult. We opened in 2009, so been here about 16 years now. Yeah, it's just your run of the mill. Well, that might be selling it short, but just a hometown barbecue place.
Hometown barbecue place. Now, tell everybody a little bit about what folks can expect from the moment they walk in the door, because it is similar to some barbecue places, but not everybody does it like you guys do.
Sure, we try not to reinvent the wheel when it comes to your mom and pop barbecue spot. It's counter service. You walk in, ideally you're greeted with a friendly smile and Southern hospitality, and you order at the counter. We bring your food out to you when it's ready, and just try to treat you like your family while you're here.
And now I know you've got sauces on the table, so tell me a little bit about that and how you chose those sauces.
Sure. We have 4 different sauces on our table every day. We have our house sauce is kind of a tangy vinegar variation. That's actually a variation of my grandfather's barbecue sauce that I grew up eating. And it goes really great with pulled pork. It's ketchup based, but it has a lot of white vinegar and a lot of spice to it. So it's not spicy, but it's got a lot of different spices in it. Then we have our sweet sauce, which is a little bit thinner, but it's got a lot of brown sugar in it. The spicy barbecue sauce is a little bit thicker. These are all red sauces. Thicker with a lot of cayenne and Tabasco flavor there. And then the white barbecue sauce, which is kind of an Alabama, North Alabama thing that we picked up along the way. When we started, we just had the one. It was the house sauce. It was, granddad's sauce that we've made forever. I tweaked the recipe a little bit. Once we opened the restaurant, we figured out that the original recipe didn't scale up very well. For consistency's sake, we had to tweak that recipe a little bit. So we just call it our house sauce. And then the other ones were actually something that I lucked into. I was trying to come up with ways to shortcut our side prep for our employees. And so we have, at the time we had a creamy coleslaw on our menu. We have, which I made a salad dressing for, essentially white barbecue sauce dressing for it. And the sweet sauce was what we put in our sweet baked beans. And then the spicy is what we put in with our spicy baked beans. So when we first started, we just had the one on the table, and people go, well, we like your meat, but we didn't really care for sauce. We like a sweeter sauce, or we like a thicker sauce, or whatever. So I said, here, try this. And so, if that's what they had to complain about, let's take away whatever that detail is, and let's fix it for them. So people seem to like it. So I'd always rather be lucky than good, I say.
Yeah. Of those sauces, can you tell which one might be a favorite among folks?
The house sauce is the one we go through the most of. And again, that's kind of the traditional red sauce, lots of vinegar. People love to mix and match the different sausage. The sweet and the spicy go really well together. The white mixes with all of them very nicely. So it just depends on what you're into. We did try a mustard sauce at one point, and I have a couple of friends that still begged me to bring it back, but it didn't sell as well, so we just stopped doing it.
Yeah, keep it simple sometimes is better. And I know I like to pick a sauce based on what my meat is. So the white sauce goes great with the chicken, but I found out, hey, it's pretty good on the brisket or on the ribs or something else too. So, speaking about favorites, what do you feel like you guys' specialty there at Rusty's Barbecue? What's your most popular item?
Most popular thing on the menu is the pulled pork. I think that's just people tend to just order what they know, and that's a safe barbecue meat to order, especially in Alabama. We like our pork down here. Our second most popular menu item is probably a cheeseburger, which is, a lot of places around here, we kind of judge our barbecue places by, can they do a good cheeseburger?
Yeah.
But I'd say the ribs are probably the thing that we do the best. That's what I like the best on our menu as well.
Okay, so tell me a little bit about how you're doing it there at Rusty's. Now, the last time I was down there, you had a man out here working on a pit outside in the parking lot, and I know you've got something going on in the restaurant. So take us a little bit through the pit setup and what kind of wood are you using?
We're using hickory. We tend to cheat a little bit. We start our fire with some charcoal, some natural lump charcoal, and then we throw logs of hickory on there, just because it makes it kind of easier to get the fire going, but also you get less of that chemical taste, or you don't have to rely on gas or propane or anything like that to start your fire with. So we're burning hickory. We have an inside bright pit that's right in the middle of the kitchen. That's our main place that we cook our ribs and the chicken, the turkey, that sort of thing. And then we have a wood burning rotisserie smoker on the food truck that we use for our briskets and our butts. There's a little bit more offset, but more consistent heat and smoke on that than that we don't get that the same way on the open pit. So we got a couple of different ways that we cook, but neither one of those is gas assisted. They're both just wood burning pits. So.
Yeah, real wood. That's real barbecue there, isn't it? Tell me, what was in that building before you were there?
Originally, it was a Jack's Hamburgers. I don't know if you're familiar.
I knew the look of the building had to be a Jack's. Yeah,
Jack's is a local Alabama chain, and back in the either late 60s or 70s, they built this building, and it was one of the original franchises, and then it shut down for some period of time for some reason, unbeknownst to me, before my days. And then a place called Shady Rest Barbecue, I believe, took it over, and they're the ones that built the pit in the building. And then it went through a few other iterations, and then we got it. It had been vacant for about 5 or 6 years when we moved in.
It's certainly now bringing a lot of traffic there into the Leeds area. So tell me a little bit about maybe how what you're doing is different than what other barbecue places are doing. And there's a bunch around Birmingham, maybe not a lot in Leeds. I know you pass Buc-ee's and their barbecue getting to Leeds, but let's stick to the Alabama barbecue. What sets you guys apart? Why should we come see you?
That's a good question. Like you said, there's a lot of great barbecue places in Alabama and especially in Birmingham. So it's really a matter of preference. Whatever you like, what your style is. yeah, I catch myself on occasion going to other barbecue places and going, man, this is really good. This is better than ours. But
Right.
it's not necessarily. It's just you get so used to eating the same thing over and over again. You've got to change it up sometimes.
Sure.
But things that set us apart, my background is as a chef. I went to culinary school. Worked in fine dining, worked in restaurants all through high school and college. And my wife's a pastry chef. We met in culinary school at Johnson & Wales in Charleston. So that's part of it. We try to bring some of those elements into our thinking about how we approach the food. We try to provide just great hospitality. It's not just about the food. It's about the service that we give and how we make people feel when they're in the building. But really, we're not trying to reinvent the wheel on any of this. We're just trying to perfect the wheel. We're trying to make the best barbecue that we can. We're trying to provide the best hospitality that we can while you're in our four walls. And so that's, I don't know if that answers the question directly or not, but
Sure.
One thing that we are doing that's unique that I don't think any other places in town are doing is we do a barbecue jackfruit, which is a vegan option on our menu. So we've gotten some notoriety for that as far as a differentiator, I suppose. But it's not there for that. It's just there to make people feel seen and taken care of, same as everyone else that comes in.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit more about that. How did you get to jackfruit on the menu? Because I've seen it, and that's not what you find on an ordinary barbecue menu. And maybe that is a little bit of reinventing the wheel.
Yeah, maybe. I think, and I think one of the things that does differentiate us, back to that question, is I'm not so caught up in worrying about the street cred or the what other people are thinking of me, as far as like, we serve fall off the bone ribs. They're not a competition rib.
Right.
You like I said, you lose a little bit of street cred serving a vegan barbecue in Alabama. People will look at you sideways on that. It's a little more progressive, I guess. I don't know if that's the right word, but it is something that sets us apart. But really, it's all about taking care of the people. We came into that the story is this: we have what I call them regulars, even though they come in once a year. We get all these crowds in for the races and for big events down at Barber Motorsports Park down the road from us. Mm-hmm. And my friend Kenny Cummings is a racer, a motorcycle racer from New York, and he brings a group in every year. And a guy named John that worked for him or raced with him came down every year, and he was vegetarian. He would come get a baked potato and a salad with no cheese on it, and it was just a whole group of people. And he's kind of like he was being forced to come to my restaurant because everyone else is getting these big plates of ribs and brisket and turkey and whatever.
And it smells so good.
And he's sitting there with a plain baked potato. And it made me sad. So one year I stumbled across jackfruit and kind of thought, well, that's kind of cool. And so I called Kenny and said, hey, is John coming this year? And he goes, yeah. I said, I've got something for him. And so I said, here, I want you to try this jackfruit. And he loved it. And so I'm like, all right, cool. I'll make sure we have that for you next time you come in. And then not a week later, a family comes in with their teenage daughter standing in the back of the crowd ordering at the counter, arms crossed, frown on her face, just she's been dragged to the barbecue place. Even though, like, are you vegetarian? Yeah, I've got some jackfruit in the back. Let me make some for you. And her face lit up, and she felt seen and part of it, and she was able to enjoy it. And they still come in. It's their favorite restaurant, and so we took a vegetarian that wouldn't be our customer and turned that whole family. They come in, a couple times a month now because we have something for her, and where it would normally be a struggle to find something on the menu, or like I said, you're getting a salad, and that's about it. So
Yeah. A great innovation. So why don't you take us back to your roots? You mentioned Johnson and Wales and Charleston. I know you got your formal training there, but before that, when and how did you get into smoking meat? Because again, being from Alabama, I know most of us got started fairly early on. Take us through that.
It's hard to avoid it, right? Smoking meat was it's what we did for fun. It's how we fed our family. It's growing up, I started learning to cook when I was about 6 with my granddad. Taught me how to bake biscuits, and just I'm a fatty. I love food, so I wanted to learn all the best. My dad made really great barbecue, so I wanted to learn from him. My uncle made really great tacos. I wanted to learn from him. My grandmother baked great cakes, and so I wanted to learn from her on everything. So it was always just a matter of trying to study at the heels of everyone in my life that would be willing to teach me something worth learning. If I want, if it's whoever made the best of something, that's who I wanted to learn that from. So my dad would cook a pork butt or some ribs in the backyard on the little Weber grill out there or whatever, and just you learn to make do with what you got. And then I think one Christmas we got a little offset smoker, and so that kind of stepped our game up a little bit. And I got so I started smoking in the backyard with him when I was about 10, and just always loved doing that. And then as the years progressed, I would come home from school in the afternoon and fire up the barbecue grill and put a couple butts on and start smoking it in time for dinner in the evening or whatever.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's backyard barbecue like everyone else, getting started out. And then I went off to culinary school. I kind of knew that I wanted to do something with food and be in the barbecue business, or be in the restaurant business rather. I didn't know I wanted to be in the barbecue business at that time. So I just wanted to be the next, at the time Food Network was coming out and was kind of the, our evening entertainment was watching Emerald or Bobby Flay or whatever. And so you're like, all right, I want to be those guys. Those are, let me watch Alton Brown. I studied Good Eats like it was the Bible, because he talked about the science behind it. All of a sudden, I'm interested in science in school. Like, why is this happening? So yeah, that's kind of a little bit of my background in food. And then so I went to Johnson and Wales and started learning to be a chef. And about halfway through that, I kind of started thinking about what I actually want to do with it, and somehow landed on barbecue.
So the business part of it, I'm sure you learned some there in the formal training. Now that you are running the business of Rusty's, which I know includes catering and of course the restaurant, how much of your time is spent doing the actual meat smoking and the cooking like you used to do growing up versus all the business piece of that?
Yeah. Funny you mentioned that. None of it. I'm almost never the person on the pit.
Oh, wow.
It's the trap that I fell into with running a restaurant is, I love to cook. I like to make people happy with food. Let me open a restaurant. And I did that. And then I quickly realized that there's a lot more to it than just sitting around a backyard grill with some beers and hanging out with your friends. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of commitment and effort that goes into it. And, you start to realize that I can teach someone how to make a barbecue sandwich, but I can't necessarily teach them to keep the books, or promote the business or
Right.
deal with the health inspector or deal with the, whatever other parts of the business goes into it. So, but fortunately I've got a great guy named Anthony Franklin that started with me when he was about 18 as a dishwasher and, quickly took an interest in learning to smoke the meats. And so I taught him how to run the pit, and he's been with me for 14 of the 16 years that we've been in business. And he's the true pit master here these days. And I'll fully admit he's better than I am at everything on that grill. I love him to death and I can't do it without him. So, but so credit where credit's due. Anthony's the one that's usually the one smoking the meats. I'm the one that's writing the checks and doing all the shaking hands and kissing babies part.
That's an important part of the business too. While we're on the business piece, and I want to talk just a second here in a moment about summer barbecue advice. But before we do, well, what does the future hold for Rusty's? What do you do? What do you see as you look toward the horizon?
That's That's a loaded question. I should work on that. Right now, it's taking it one day at a time and making sure that we've got our systems in place to make sure that everyone's doing what they're supposed to do, and just kind of taking the opportunities as they come our way and being willing to pivot and change course if needed. But back to your previous question, we do a lot of catering. That's certainly a big piece of it. It's probably about a third of our business is the catering business. We do currently we do a cafeteria situation for a corporate headquarters down the road, Monday through Friday, breakfast and lunch. That's where some of my formal culinary training comes into play, because we're not just doing barbecue every day for them. And then we do a hot lunch program for the senior center here in town, and so they're getting some of that food as well. And then we do big corporate gigs. We fed 3,000 people at a facility down in Bessemer the other day. So it's just, I like those big ones. Those are fun caterings, because you really test the limits of what you can produce out of this little barbecue place in Alabama.
Yeah.
But, and we also do weddings and events and birthday parties and whatever else comes our way. So I'd say catering is definitely the biggest part of that future growth for the business. I hope that answers the question. I'm
Sure.
not sure.
Well, and that's a great segue into kind of what I wanted to talk to you about. Catering is a big part of your business. And, as we're here at the end of official barbecue month here in May and National Barbecue Day and all that good stuff going on during the month, we know that everybody's going to do a lot of barbecuing in the months ahead throughout the summer. And somebody asked me, what's the best strategy for preparing my meat, for smoking it, and then taking it somewhere else and enjoying it? So, if I'm, getting a butt ready, how should I break down the strategy for cooking it, preserving it, taking it somewhere else, and then having it ready to serve again? And that feels like it kind of fits in with what you guys do in the catering world.
Yeah, absolutely. The answer to that's going to change on the situation. Okay. It changes based on what resources you have available once you get there. Do you have an oven? Do you have a microwave? That's going to change my answer to that, right? Do you have do you cook it all the way on the pit, or do you smoke it, till it's done and then heat it back up in the oven later? Or, there's a lot of different methods that can be employed there. Best case scenario, if you're traveling with say a Boston butt that you're going to serve later that day, like say it's get it done at 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon and you're serving it for dinner, you would want to wrap it tightly in foil, put it in like a cooler or an insulated carrier of some sort to preserve that heat. and just let it rest for a couple hours until you get there, and then break it apart and pull it and serve it. The longer you can keep that intact, the more you're going to preserve the juices and the integrity of that meat. If you pull it too soon and then try to keep it hot, it's just going to dry out. If you try to pull it and then reheat it, you're likely to dry it out. So you just got to be careful with it, and don't ruin all the hard work that you did to get it to that point by pulling it too soon or reheating it, too abruptly, or too high heat or something like that. Please don't microwave it. I'd rather eat it cold.
Never use the microwave. But how long can I keep it in that cooler, like you say, wrapped up in the foil and letting it rest before I need to think about trying to put it back in the oven and rewarm it?
Sure. That's a more of a food safety question than a quality question, because you can hold it hot pretty long, as long as you keep it in the food safe, heat zone. So, in food service, we talked about the temperature danger zone, which is between 41 and 135 degrees Fahrenheit. And that's where bacteria tends to grow. And, so if you're above 135 temperature, then you can hold it pretty indefinitely, as long as it doesn't, without food safety issues. It's going to be a quality, issue might come into play, but not necessarily a food safety issue. So that would be my answer, is to pay attention to that. You have what's called time temperature abuse, where if it's more than 4 hours out of temp, then it's going to start making people sick. So you just keep it above 135 as long as you can. So if it goes below that, then yeah, definitely heat it back up.
Okay. That's great advice for somebody getting ready for the summer. And I want some more advice about the summer, and I want it about your desserts, because I'm telling you, every time I've gone, I've gotten something different and it's better. My favorite is the coconut cream, but what would you tell folks about their desserts, and keep the food safety and keeping it cold out of that? How do you create a winning dessert for the summertime?
Ooh, know your audience. So, I mean, it depends on who's eating it, right? I like, obviously our go-to desserts here are banana pudding, and our peanut butter pie is kind of a top seller. That coconut cream pie is my granddad's recipe. It's another great one. That one takes a little more work and is a little more finicky. So if you're not serving that one right away, then don't do it. But banana pudding just gets better and better as it sits. So
yeah.
Again, keeping in mind your travel time and your what situation are you coming into. Pies are great, but you can only get so many slices out of them. So if you're feeding a crowd, you might consider something like a pan of banana pudding that you can scoop, change the scoop size if you need to stretch it. Whereas a pie, you might only get 6 or 8 slices out of it. But do something that you love and make plenty of it. There's never too much dessert.
Yeah, that's for sure. And speaking of love, you mentioned your grandfather's recipe there, and I know that you've talked about learning from your dad and your uncle. How important is some of that family heritage, to the success of your business and to what you're enjoying about your business?
Oh, it's incredibly important. My mom actually works with me at the restaurant 3 or 4 days a week. My wife's there, in and out. My kid's 10 years old. He'll wander back behind the register and ring himself up a grilled cheese on the register. So I mean, it's absolutely a family business. My dad and brother work in the area. They come in all the time. My grandfather's still living. He doesn't make it out as much, but just wouldn't be here without them. Wouldn't be able to do what we do, or definitely wouldn't have ever made it this far without family. So,
what keeps you doing it day after day?
gotta pay the bills. No, it is a love, of what we do, and there's a lot of. That's a tough question. That went on your list that you sent me. I don't have a prepared answer for that. What keeps me doing it every day? The people. I mean, it's got to be the people, right? It's the family. It's the crew. Like I said, it's the crew that stuck with me over the years. It's not just taking care of me and my family; it's taking care of them and their families as well. Yeah, and leveraging what we can do out of this mom and pop barbecue place to impact our community and the world around us, and how can we make everyone's lives better.
And that, my friends, is the final word from the man behind Rusty's Barbecue. Rusty, thanks so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
You've been listening to the Low and Slow Barbecue Show. If you like what you hear, please give us a 5-star rating on your favorite podcast stream. You can share our podcast with your barbecue-loving friends, and be sure to follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. YouTube's where you can see all the photos and videos of our barbecue adventures and interviews. Don't forget, when you visit lowslowbbqshow.com, you can sign up for our newsletter, The Lowdown, and get the latest barbecue news delivered to your inbox on Tuesday mornings. Thanks again to our guest today, Rusty Tucker from Rusty's Barbecue. Thanks as well to the whole team at the Mesh.tv network of podcasts, especially Andrew Moose. He's working hard all summer to bring live music to Hickory, North Carolina. Get the lineup for concert season at the Hum, or find him under Moose and Friends in the big old social media world. Just come on out and support local music in Western North Carolina. Finally, thank you for listening to the Low and Slow Barbecue Show. Remember, for the best barbecue and the best barbecue podcast, keep it low and slow.
You've been listening to The Mesh, an online media network of shows and programs ranging from business to arts, sports to entertainment, music to community. All programs are available on the website as well as through iTunes and YouTube. Check us out online at themesh.tv. Discover other network shows and give us feedback on what you just heard.